Have you been doing something good for yourself recently? Something quiet, something soft, like taking care of yourself, maybe stretching, journaling, maybe just even sitting with your eyes closed for a minute. And then you have this wave of guilt out of nowhere. And sometimes also a little voice that goes something like, why am I even doing this when people are dying out there? See, I want to talk about that today because this guilt, I think it's eating us alive. This thought that it's selfish to work on yourself when the world is burning is really something that we all have in our mind and that not many people are talking about. You're listening to The Bold Beginner, a space for multifaceted women where we explore how to feel at ease in your body when you're being seen. If something here speaks to you, consider subscribing or leaving a review or a comment. It genuinely supports the growth of this space. So, today I want to go somewhere that's been sitting on my chest for quite some time. I think I need to say it, and I think it's important that you hear it. So for me, this thought of working on myself being superficial in the world that we live in today started precisely because I've been building something. I'm still building it, The Bold Beginner. And the whole brand is around body reconnection, helping women come home to themselves. And I do believe in it. I really believe in it deeply. But then also lately, I've been working as usual on doing this podcast, on creating some content around the connection to the body, the nervous system, all these things. And so I would be working on it, writing about softness, about the nervous system. And then I just switched tabs and there's just another headline straight to my face. Another crisis, a war starting, another thing that is so big and so painful that what I'm doing starts feeling small, I don't know, embarrassing almost. I'm giving you this example, but this episode isn't about me because I think you probably feel this too, even if your version looks different, and it's probably more so about taking care of yourself. So it might be something completely different for you. Maybe it's just you wanting to sign up for some yoga class or some wellness class and then canceling it or just feeling bad about it because you felt weird about spending an hour on your body and taking care of yourself when the news is so heavy. Maybe you've been wanting to start therapy or get into meditation or just take care of yourself in some small, some quiet way. But every time you feel kind of pulled back because you have this voice saying, not now. Now isn't the time. There are people out there that have real problems or who are dying or whatever. Another scenario could be that you are doing the work, you are going to the classes, you are doing the journaling, you are trying to reconnect with your body. It is helping, and you can feel that it's helping you personally, but you cannot enjoy it because of that guilt. And that guilt is underneath everything that you're doing. So it's almost like you haven't earned the right to feel okay. I was talking to a friend about this, and she said something that was quite interesting. She said, I feel like a bad person for feeling good. So she genuinely felt like her own well-being was a moral failure because of everything that's happening in the world. And it just got me thinking, how many are walking around feeling like that? How many women are quietly abandoning themselves? And I want to say abandoning themselves again, because it's a pattern that we tend to have, unfortunately. So if we get into it, I think there's a few things that need to be untangled here, because there's a few notions that we put together, that we knotted together, and they don't really actually belong together. We are often confusing overwhelm with caring. It's almost like we collectively decided that the more terrible you feel about the news, the more it proves that you're a good person. And it reaches a point where you almost feel like if you're not in a constant state of grief or pain, you probably must not care enough. And I understand where it's coming from, really, when you see real suffering, and we do see it a lot these days. We actually, sadly, with social media, see suffering live, or we see it on repeat through videos from every angle. When you see that, you see people losing everything, and you feel it in your chest, and that's empathy. That's a real thing. That's your body, that's your emotions connecting to another human being's pain. And it's actually beautiful. But the part that's not so beautiful is that your body was not built to hold all of it. Your nervous system can only process so much. It's made to process the pain of your family, of your community, of the people directly around you, your direct circle. It's not meant to process a 24-hour feed of every possible crisis on this planet. And so when you start being in that state where you just take it all in, you scroll through suffering all day long, or during moments where you're meant to actually relax and be at peace, like having your morning coffee or something, and then you start to shut down and you feel that heaviness that you can't really name and you can't really shake, that's not really making you a good person. What you do actually is just letting yourself and your body drown. You're letting yourself being overwhelmed. And so another thing that we confuse with one another is stillness and apathy. Stillness is not apathy. When you ground yourself, when you stay in your body, when you do some breath work and you just reconnect with yourself, it does not mean that you are ignoring the world and everything that's going on. Two things can be true at once. You can take care of yourself and not just turn your back on everything that's happening to people around the world and on their suffering. But really what's happening is that everyone acts like it. We all are guilty of it. We all treat any moment of personal peace like a betrayal to other people. I feel this very often. I've felt it very often for the past year. How dare I be calm right now? How dare I enjoy this? I know what's happening out there, so how can I be just doing this thing of just taking care of myself? Because you know what's going on, you know what's out there, and I'm definitely not one to say that it's better to put your head in the sand. I think it's extremely important to stay informed and to stay aware of what's going on out there. But then what are you supposed to do with that? Are you supposed to just suffer in solidarity? Are you supposed to just stay in a constant state of grief, of collapse, just because then you can say that you cared at the end of the day? Because when you think about it, when you think about the people who actually help, who either are on the ground or create communities, lead movement that actually help, the ones who show up, the people who organize, who make a real difference, do you think that they're running on guilt and exhaustion? Or do you think they're grounded people? People who keep their nervous system regulated enough so that they can think clearly and act from a place of rationality rather than panic? And you know the answer to that. The most impactful people that I've ever met, they are not the ones operating on fumes or from a place of emptiness. They're the ones who have enough in their own body to give from overflow instead of from depletion. And I've realized it firsthand because I created a few years ago a social and environmental impact business, and I made it grow for about 3 to 4 years. It was growing really well. The team was growing, our impact was growing, and that was as long as I was giving from a place of being full and being grounded. My situation was okay. My mental health was okay. So I was able to impact and I was able to give to other people and to help other people. As soon as both my financial situation and my mental health situation went downhill, the whole business went downhill because I could not give any more to others being empty myself. It is just not physically possible. And so I've been wondering lately, and it might be a bit, maybe not controversial, but a bit of a hot take. But what if your body work is the activism? And I don't mean this instead of action or instead of caring, but more as a foundation for it. Like what I just explained. If you don't connect, if you don't do your body work, if you don't do your nervous system work, then you do not have the strength and the ability to support others and to care for others, or not in an efficient way. At least you cannot have the impact that you want to have. And if you think about what happens when a woman is actually in her body, actually connected and regulated, she makes different decisions. She doesn't react from fear, from panic, from pain, but she responds from clarity. Everything is clearer in the decisions that she makes. She actually says what she means and she acts accordingly. And she can hold difficult conversations. And she can hold other people's pain without collapsing into it. A woman who's grounded and who is in her body changes the room she walks into. She changes her family. She changes how her kids experience the world. Not even only a woman, a human for that matter. She changes what her friendships feel like. She changes what she'll tolerate. Everything. So, of course, as always, I want to bring a little nuance here because I'm, of course, I hope that it's clear that I'm not, of course, saying just do some yoga or meditation and the world will fix itself. Obviously not. But what I'm saying, however, is that the world is definitely not going to be fixed by a bunch of people who are completely disconnected from themselves and as a consequence from others who can't feel, who can't have empathy because they're so overwhelmed that they can't think. And right now, and for the longest, the world has been full of people making decisions from their ego, from their fear, from their numbness. The most disconnected people making the most disconnected decisions. And that's true in politics, that's true in the workplace, that's true within families. I mean, that's kind of how we got here. And so when you sit down for 5 minutes and you close your eyes and you feel your body, you breathe, you come back to yourself, you take care of yourself, you're not doing nothing. That's not frivolous, that's not superficial, that's none of that. You are trying to be whole and take care of yourself so that you can give to others, so that you can care for others. And it's quite a radical thing to do. And for the past few months, I've had to actively remind that to myself every time that I'm doing, so that's basically every morning and every day, every time I'm doing some stretching or some breath work or anything to ground myself and feel connected. And every time that I'm thinking something along the lines of, I shouldn't be doing this right now, I should be doing something more useful, or who am I to do this, or how dare I do this when things are so terrible out there, I had to consciously and actively remind myself that it's not selfish. And this is how I stay. This is how I reconnect to myself so that I can connect to others. That's how you stay, as in that's how you don't burn out. That's how I avoid the same burnout that I had about a year ago. That's how you can show up for people around you, for your community, for your loved ones, for the things that you actually care about without losing yourself in the process. And so I hope that you can do that for yourself too. That from now on, every time that you will have this kind of little voice that tries to make you feel guilty, that you can maybe not shut it down, but remind yourself that you should not be guilty and that you cannot pour from empty. And your body knows anyway. Your body knows full well that guilt is not the fuel. And it's probably been trying to tell you for a while. So maybe now is time to listen. If you like this episode and if it was any helpful to you, make sure that you share it to a woman around you, someone you know who's been very overwhelmed lately, who's been kind of abandoning themselves because she's feeling too guilty, or she thinks that she's being too frivolous working on herself. Just remind her that it's not, and send her a bit of love.